So that time of the week again, Sunday morning, time for another Wardy's waffle. You can see we've got the 8RX and the Cultipress in the background, so we'll touch on that in a minute. I'm not going to post anything from the seals event. I've got one or two things left to post, but they're sort of 2 or 3 minutes long, really interesting, and I'll put those on in the middle of other clips just before harvest. Just while we're talking about the seals event, I just wanted to make an announcement. If you haven't already heard, some of you will have heard, we are hosting that the 11th and 12th of June 2025, so next year we are hosting the seals event, which is fantastic. We're really proud to be doing that. We have hosted it twice before, in 2004 and 2008, so quite a while ago. It won't be on the soil type like we've got here that Tom's working at the minute. It'll be up on the heath on the light land, and we have to have it up there because if we get a lot of rain before the event, we need to minimise the chances of the event not actually happening, and so we need to have it on the lighter soils. When we last hosted it in 2008, there was around about 27,000 people came, and I think we had 2 or 3 years around that time when that was the most the seals event has ever had. So they're a bit less now. It's a different company running it now. It was Haymarket Exhibitions that was doing it before, and that was a company owned by Michael Heseltine. And after that 2008 event, I actually helped Haymarket run a similar event in Poland for 3 years. So I was on the organising team of running that event. So that was a time in my life when I spent quite a bit of time abroad and helping run that event in Poland. But fantastic that we've now got the event back here in Lincolnshire. We have got quite a few people who contacted me and said that they need a lot of changes, or they need some changes to the site that was this year down in Hertfordshire. And yes, I'm aware of that, and I think the organisers are as well. So we're on with that. So please just be patient. We've got a lot of things to plan coming up to the event, but it's the 11th and 12th of June next year, 2025. I'll keep mentioning it as we're going throughout the year. There'll be regular posts from the event as it's setting up and building up, and all the crop plots are established, and all the companies start to bring things into the site. It covers around about 55 hectares, so what's that, 125 acres altogether, but I'll explain more about that in more detail. Anyway, let's crack on with this update because I've got a lot to get through as always. A few things going on. You can see Tom behind me, we've started to cultivate the stewardship areas that's going to give us the winter bird food plots. So we're soloing those, we're also culti-pressing those, as you can see now. And also, I've just moved actually because of the wind. I didn't want it affecting it because I haven't got my muffled microphone with me. Also this update, we've got Eric's come over from Warwick University to look at the Capulet beans and see how they're progressing. Some of you have watched these videos long enough will remember that Eric was responsible and his team was responsible at Warwick for breeding the Capulet beans. So Eric's looking at those. We've got 1 or 2 issues with them at the minute, which we'll touch on if you watch later in this update. Also, we've got the sprayer being picked up from the seals event, and also bringing it down to our farm and unloading here. Anyway, that's it for the intro. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you at the end. Out having a look at the sugar beet again, just to check on the progress of the weed control. And I must say, after a week ago, it really has improved hugely. We've got the big ones are still a little bit big, but they're only just getting hold of that second herbicide. But then when you look at some of these, completely gone. All these going there, completely brown there. So really good. And when you look down the row, last week when you look down the row, you could still see green between the rows. Now, very, very little. It'll be okay. Pleased with this. Looking good. Just on the minor road coming up to Ledlam Village. This used to be the main road. This used to be the A17 actually, up to 1996 when the bypass was built. This is our field on the left, and you can see Tom there with the solo. That top of that hill, we've got 5 acres there in the stewardship area because it's really, really awful soil, blue clay. The rest of the field here is lovely sugar beet land, but the top there isn't. So we're 5 acres into a mid-tier stewardship and winter bird food cover. So we'll nip up and have a look and just see how it's going. You can see how dry and hard it is up the top here. will be very wet underneath though, but it is doing a really good loosening job. You can see why it's not sugar beet land. You can hear Tom's got the hoover going. It's sunny now, but it's been a wet morning. We've had 6 or 8 millimetres of rain, so Tom's taking the solo off. He's doing all the stewardship areas and he's now just hoovering out the drill from the Capulet beans that we finished the other day. We've been that busy, haven't got them done. So these are the beans. They are quite small, as you can see, but when they cook them and put them in the tin to make baked beans, they put them in water first and it swells them up, and then they cook them in the tin. Anyway, Tom's doing the hoover and then emptying it out. It'll need a good wash then, the drill will, and it'll need a bit of maintenance as well. And we've got a ram that's leaking there. That ram wants taken off, so anyway to be resealed. You can see it's blowing oil down out the front of the drill, so we want a real good clean down. Let's have a look in the hopper. There we go. Holds about 2 tons when it's empty. We're going to put them in the hopper, and it just helps having a bucket that's partitioned to keep the beans to one side and the partition to put them in the hopper easy enough. Quite a few of you have mentioned after the video last Sunday, I think it was, in the comments about years ago, a lot of people used to interrow hoe or tractor hoe, hand hoe. We were going to do this because when you have late planted sugar beet, we actually had this last year. If you move the soil and sort of aerate it, sort of mineralises the nitrogen, but it gives the beet a real kick, and it seems to really respond growing wise. We did it last year for the first time for a number of years because our sugar beet was late planted last year as well because of the wet spring, and it seemed to make a big difference. So I was going to do this, thinking of doing it in maybe another 2 or 3 weeks time, but our agronomist Michael, who incidentally is soon going to become my son-in-law, he thinks that we'd be better doing it now fairly soon, and then the last herbicide that we need to put on this beet, it will go on after we've hoed it. And yes, in between the rows of beet, there'll be no weeds there to control as such, but it's in the row where the sugar beet is, that's where the weeds will be. And so to put it on as well, it's like creates a seal. So if we put it on after we've hoed it, that seal across the soil will help stop any more late germinating weeds come through. And of course, if we do it sooner, because the beet's quite small, you can set these hoes, as they're called, tractor hoes or inter-row cultivators. You can alter the width they cut, how near they go to the beet. Because the beet's small, we can set them so they're fairly tight to the beet row, which means it will get more weeds. It'll hoe up more weeds and stimulate more growth of the beet. So we're going to see if I can get this sorted in this next few days. So lots of lorries arriving now to take machinery home. There's Rainthorpe's, the company near me. So a lot of lorries coming in here now. I think our sprayer probably is about to be loaded up just in time, and it looks like they're going to back it on. There we go. So just getting the back fastened down. Got cross chain across the front. There's no rush. No rush in the morning. Smile, yeah. Come on, lads, smile. No, there's no rush. We're all right. Any time tomorrow to suit you. Oh look, we've gained the sprayer. In one piece. So fresh back from the cereals event, we've got sugar beet to spray in the next day or so. So that's been doing the demos in the sprays and sprayers arena and on the stand as well. And then this one was also on the stand, but it's going back to Howsham's factory at Woodall Spa. Busy morning this morning. Weaving have just turned up to pick up the Energizer drag harrow cultivator that's there. So we're going to put it on the back of the Puma, put the weight on the front of the Puma because it's a linkage mounted one, not trail, and it needs the weight on the front to lift it. Ruben is away on holiday at the minute, and Tom is doing the JCB tractor run that's going around the coast of the country. So this Energizer that Weaving call them, that's the name of it, it's really heavy. I think it's because of the packer roller at the back. So I'm going to put it on with the Puma, but we need to put the weight on the front here just to balance it, so that I've got the front wheels on the floor when I'm going up the low loader, but I will be backing it up obviously. So I need to drop the linkage down. So it's just a case of taking that pin off out there, taking that pin out, lowering that down, and putting the pin back in like that, and putting the linch pin back in. There we are. That's got it on. The tyres nearly flat. When you look at the bulge, well, the bulge especially on the inside there. Well, it's because it's had dual wheels on the front and was only 8 psi in these. See the thing there. But anyway, when we get this on and get it lifted up, it'll be all right. And then I'll take the weight off when we finish, and then the tyres need pumping up, ready to go on the grain trailer at harvest time. So to hook that onto the pin, we have what we call a set of balls that you put in the pin there, and then right, I've got it on, and you can see now there's not as much weight on the front end anywhere near now. The ramp's just sliding underneath the body there on rollers. See there. Got it lifted on, strapped on. Just haven't had time to wash it before it went away. Eric's just arrived from Warwick University to have a look at the beans, because we are a bit concerned with them. Well, to be honest, more than a bit concerned, because we've got very poor germination. I think it's through lack of the warmth we've had, through the very poor temperatures. But we're just going to have a look around some of these fields and just get Eric's opinion. But they are not looking brilliant at the minute, to be honest. So when you're looking down here, you can see we've got some yellowing there. We've got that one that's really not much leaf, probably a combination there of slugs that are getting it, and also some herbicide damage. We know we've got slugs in here because you can see some of the leaves of the black oats, and this green that looks like wheat are actually oats, and that's a companion crop we have in to help harvesting and help pull the beans up, because they can grow very low to the floor. So we know we have got slugs here because they're eating this, they're just chewing away at the black oats. You see there, we have got a decent number of plants in that area. When you look here, look quite healthy and growing okay. But it's areas like plants like that within these areas, then you've got leaves under there not looking healthy. There's a bit of slug damage eating the edge of the leaf away. You see here, Eric, there's a good number of plants here.
Yeah, that looks like a reasonable stand.
Yeah, yeah, healthy plants.
Yeah,
But
is that herbicide damage?
it looks a bit possibly like it. You see, you have 3 or 4 plants there.
Yeah. So those would be late germinators.
So this is what they should all be like. They should all be that size. But there is a good cut when you look through there. There is a good smattering of plants.
Yeah, I think we need to be optimistic a bit. If you can get some sunshine on this,
yeah,
these will take off.
So, looks like we're about to get wet, Eric. We're going to have to make a run in a minute. But just looking here, we've just dug some of those up. So just have a look. Soil's in lovely condition, isn't it, underneath?
Very crumbly, yeah. So what impresses me is you're looking at that stem, how white it is.
Yeah, and that's good.
And looking at the root system, it's wanting to grow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there was a problem with rain and rot, you'd see some discoloration, some browning.
Yeah.
Things that are attacking the stem. But Capulet being a white seed, you can see how that stem, that Capulet is actually also very white.
Is it too deep?
No, perfect depth. You can, I mean, the root system looking very happy.
Yeah.
And this obviously a plant that's been munched on by slugs or snails.
Yeah.
But with a root system, a stem, and a growing point like that, that's going to be able to grow out of eating by the snails. So a plant like that would have been fine if it hadn't been dug up.
Right. Yeah. See what's happened to that?
So the one next to it is probably a late germinator. And you can see it probably has been affected by some rot.
Yeah.
With all the rain that you've had. It hasn't gotten a good start.
And
it may be affected by the herbicide as well.
Yeah.
But right next to each other, you can see one that.
Yeah, the difference.
Yeah. The key is that there's a healthy root system, a healthy stem.
Yeah.
That growing point is green and healthy. So these leaves, although they don't look good now, that plant would be able to grow. The next set of leaves would actually be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, there's a taproot forming.
Yes.
Good side shoot and good root growth.
So if we then compare that to say to that one, well, that's interesting. You've got that's actually a better stem.
Yeah. So again, looking at the roots and the stem, that's got a good start. I would say those leaves are enough for that growing point to grow on, so that plant would have survived.
Yeah. So Eric, first impressions of this field. This is the last field we planted at night, but it's done with our Simba drill. A few more plants than what you originally thought from the photos I've sent you.
Yeah, I couldn't sit on our farm and actually try to imagine what your field looked like. So it's good. I'm here. What I'm seeing looks to me like you're going to get a crop. I'm really curious to see how the black oats work for you.
Yeah.
It's still part of your learning curve, but I would be optimistic knowing this variety. It's going to be able to grow through the conditions it's got. It'll grow well with the oats.
Yeah. But looking at it, well, I think the slugs are having an effect, aren't they? Because they're not allowing them to grow away.
Yeah. A lot of the leaves we're seeing have been affected by slug damage.
Yeah.
The optimistic thing is that the stem and the growing point look to be healthy.
Yeah.
So they actually need some leaves to carry on.
So I think we need to get some slug pellets on, and we need some warm weather. But I think if we'd had warm weather up to now, they'd have been grown away from the slugs, and we wouldn't have needed to apply slug pellets. So this is the problem we've got, that it's the weather again affecting what we're trying to do here, which isn't helping. We drilled on the 20th of May, 21st of May.
You finished in the rain.
We finished when the rain started. We had an hour of drilling this field in the rain, and then it rained for 24 hours after that. We had 27 millimetres.
They were going to hit the ground.
So Eric was here when he was drilling, some of you remember that, but this is the update number for you to look at when we were drilling the crop, put it in the ground, and it was perfect conditions. There was dust blowing, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So we've just come into another field, just for a bit of context here. The Amazon Persea sugar beet drill planted up and down in the middle of the field there. Our Simba drill came and did the headlands, did the outside here, round here and down here, and this is where we have got the germination when you look up here and down there. And then the black oats you can see growing amongst them, and the idea is that these will pull the beans up to help them get off the ground a bit, but it'll also help harvesting, because when this crop gets nearer to harvest it dies off and there's not so much going through the combine, and the black oats will help the combine feed better, but we will spray those off before they set seed to stop them setting seed and dropping seed on the ground. So you can see we've got a decent number of bean plants here. So we're going to move away from here now onto the area where the precision drill was putting them in. You can see we've still got beans here because our Simba drill was putting it in. We're going to get to the area now. Not quite so many plants, but I suppose there is when you look. Still a decent number of the beans. So we're moving now. We've suddenly got the first rows from the sugar beet drill, because of course this area you'd have both planted, because the sugar beet drill was going through that way and our Simba drill's that way. So you've got this area that's had both. Now we suddenly get to the area here where it's only the precision drill. If you look here, the oats, because they were planting in rows next to the beans, the oats have come perfectly, but there are no beans whatsoever. Bit of slug damage there on that one, you can see it's chewed the edge of it. But where Frankie is, there should be some beans. That's a row. You see all the black oats in rows. The beans should be at the side of them, but there's just none. When you look down there, a few broadleaf weeds, no beans at all. We've dug down, we can't find them. So there's none, is there, Eric? No. Really odd. Do you think they've rotted?
At this point, if they aren't up now, they've just rotted in the ground.
Really, really sad. We've got this field which is 32 acres. We've only got beans around the outside. We'll go and have a look at those other two fields, but it's just coming on to rain now. We'll nip in the truck and go and have a look across there and keep dry. But yeah, very, very disappointing here. We've now come to one of the fields that the Amazon precision drill put the beans in, and again, very, very sparse. The odd bean we've found, but that is all. Well, as you look down here behind me, these rows are the rows of black oats. So this is the companion crop that we're growing alongside them. So they've come fine, but the beans really haven't. And so we're just trying to establish why and what the issue is, which is it's not easy. Eric's just trying to find the seed. We've got one bean here to the right of the oat row. So it's gone in at a decent depth. But we're struggling to find any more seed to the right of that row. So we've just got back from the fields having a look. Bit of a sum up, Eric. Varying growing conditions in the fields, various plant establishment percentages, but I think the overall take from this is the weather's had a big impact.
Yeah, the rain that fell right after the planting has definitely affected certain parts of the farm. The area that we saw really good beans growing, the beans were at the right depth.
Yeah.
The drill worked just fine.
Yeah.
There was probably just enough aeration, even with the rain, that they were able to get up and running. But in the areas of the field where there was probably just too much water, they never were able to break through before they rotted.
But I think it's also important to emphasise that this is no different to situations that most farmers have found themselves in this last winter.
You've seen it with other crops?
Other crops, yeah. Wheat, barley. Rain straight after planting just does not do any favours to the crop, no matter what the crop is.
And I guess we know, just like your harvest, there was just one window to plant the beans.
Yeah.
Since then, you wouldn't have had any chance because you've had continuous rain.
No. So it's one of those situations we're in. So it's early stages yet. Obviously, we're keeping going with it. Lots of things to look at, but we will have some beans to harvest in quite a lot of the area. And keep tuned in and watching. Eric will be back and we'll keep updating you on the progress of the crop. But it's just one of the things we learn in a new crop.
Yeah, that's very much. We have no control of the weather.
No control on what comes from above. No, great. Anyway, Eric, thanks for coming today. Catch up with you soon. Thank you. So it's been a few days since Tom soloed some of the stewardship land that we've got, and also one of our neighbours that we used to contract farm, and we've now got the Cultipress on, and he's going around cultipressing it, getting the stewardship areas ready for drilling with a winter bird food crop. So we're just going around the outside and just see the amount of debris and grass there is here. Tom's got the levelling boards up, because if you put those down it will just simply block. That's those leaf springy things. Yeah, you've got a blockage on the far side there, you can see now. There. See, it doesn't take much blocking. You can't just put it in auto steer and forget about it. Be on your phone, you've got to be looking at this all the time. Need to change the points on the press. You can see there how much they've worn down. Can't believe soil does that. And then these are the ones that Tom's done. Huge difference. Tom's got started culti-pressing our stewardship areas. So I wanted to show you the field here that's fallow. You can see there's a bit of tinge of green on it, but we've got some phacelia growing there. There's some buckwheat there, and there should be some linseed in it. That was the other part, but the flea beetles probably got it. I can't see any growing anywhere. Yeah, you can see how wet it was. This cover crop was put in about the 15th or 16th of May, but it couldn't have got any earlier. Look how rough and wet this is. You can see by the 8RX tracks have sunk in here a lot. Here especially. But again, the cover crop's not really growing quick enough because the soil's cold. It should have been a lot further forward than this. We'll go and have a look at that running. Very hard and dry here, totally different to what we've seen a minute ago on the videos. But this is a prime example of how the DD ring or the rollers on the back operate. You can see there, it just completely breaks the lump in half and opens it up. Done a really good job there, but look how hard and dry it is. This land needs doing again really, and then leaving, and I'm afraid it wants some rain on it to help work it down. See how the tines boil it up, leave the lumps in a good state for the rings to work. It's Saturday morning and just driving past one of the fields of sugar beet on the heavy land, and just wanted to show you this. Can you see how the rows from the headlands, so the squiggly rows on the left are from when we've drilled on the outside of the field, and then the rows up and down are from straight side and on GPS. And look how the straight rows don't run into the squiggly rows, they stop on the outside, and that's all down to GPS and individual electric switching on the individual units of the sugar beet drill. Just fascinating technology when you look down there. And obviously that's a tram line, so the sugar beet drill doesn't put the seed in on there, so it leaves the wide areas for the sprayer to run. And you might think there's a big gap, a lot of yield lost, but the rows either side compensate it, and because they've got extra light and room to grow, they compensate for the missed crop. But they're looking so much better than it did a couple of weeks ago. All the weeds have virtually gone. There are some there, we need one more application, but I am getting a inter-row cultivator, or tractor hoe as it used to be called, to get those weeds in between the row pulled up, and it'll actually mineralise the nitrogen, freshen up the soil, and the beet will really grow because of it. And